I'm sitting here with the unfortunate remnants of my 3000 GT VR4's engine. Now, if you saw my last video, you will kind of be in tune and know what's going on with this thing. It's a super unfortunate situation, but today everything is going to turn around. We're going to get the car cleaned up and we are going to start getting this engine reassembled and get this car back on the road. So long story short, I purchased an engine from a guy 3.5 years ago. The one he sold me ended up being bad, so he told me he'd fix it for me. So I drove it out there for him, and he took the engine out and then let it sit in a field for 3.5 years. And it's definitely showing signs of what he did to it. This car was absolutely pristine when I dropped it off to him. And this is pretty much what I'm left with here. A rusted pile of parts that is just, you can see there's rust everywhere. And I honestly have no idea what he did over here because this is silver paint and it will not come off. I'm hoping a buffer will be able to get that off. I'm not even sure how the car got so much paint on the side of it. Around back, you'll just see how terrible shape this paint is in. I honestly don't know how he could have neglected this car so badly, but he did manage to do it. So in this one, we're going to start the process of getting my new engine back together. This is the engine that I received back from him after letting it sit for so long with him, and I have this freshly rebuilt short block that we're going to be rebuilding. I'm not sure if we'll get to it in this one or the next one, but the first order is to take all the parts out of this thing and just get this cleaned up to the best of my abilities. I'm not a detail geek or anything. I'm more of just a spit shine guy, but I'm going to try to give this the best treatment that I can. Thankfully, the interior did not suffer too badly. We're still gonna have to clean it really well because all of my parts are sitting inside here. This is the engine that I was left with. Literally just a pile of parts. So I have to take all this out, kind of get a feel for if I'm missing anything or what I'm missing, because I'm 100% sure I'm gonna be missing something. And then I'm just gonna go to town. A lot of this seems like it'll come off with a wash and a buff. There's some stuff that's a little bit deeper and stuff like that paint and some rust up front. But yeah, this might be one of the most satisfying cleans that I will ever do on a car because this thing is looking rough. So pull all this out, we'll get the hose out, get to cleaning, and then I am gonna cut this paint down. Some people in the comments on my last video mentioned I should drop this guy's name, but on top of the issues with this car I'm already having, I don't want to deal with a defamation lawsuit, but if you take 2 seconds to look down into the comments, somebody is for sure going to let you know who it is, because I am not the only one in this community that has had these types of issues with him, which sucks because he is extremely knowledgeable about these cars and has done a lot of people good, but every once in a while he just kind of singles one person out and completely ruins their life. And a few years ago, he started an engine rebuild program for these. You bring him a core, he sends you out the door with a new engine. And he told me he had a brand new assembled long block, which if you watch the last video, you'll know how bad of shape this thing was in. And one of the biggest problems from him is just the length of time he takes to deliver parts or to get cars done. And because he said he had a fully rebuilt long block ready to go, I figured that's not going to be a big issue because he's knowledgeable about these cars. I get in the door and out and I'm good to go. But when the block immediately failed, and he mentioned that he would kind of help me out to get it back on the road, I had so many other projects at the time that I was like, sure, if it takes him a year or whatever, that's perfectly fine because I have so many other things going on. Little did I know that year would turn into 3+, and for the first year or so, year and a couple months, he would just kept telling me that the machine shop was busy and that was the reason why this wasn't getting going, and that is true. Machine shops are very busy right now, so I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt. And after about a year and a half, he finally sent me a picture out of the blue with the engine out of the car, so I was like, okay, we're finally getting somewhere, and then just disappeared. And at that point, I had grown frustrated enough that I actually did go down the legal route to try to get my car done, or at least get my car back. And that fell through because we never signed a document or an agreement stating exactly how long the build should take. So he could have taken 10 years and got away with it. So I cut my losses there and I was like, I don't know what to do now. And then at that point in time, he started moving shops to a different state, and a lot of the cars stayed in the old state and some went to the new one. So at that point I wanted to pick my car up, and I mentioned that I wanted to do that a couple times, but I did not know which state my car was in, or if it's inside, and if it was, it doesn't have an engine in it and the parts are probably in a different space. So there was just a logistical nightmare to get this car back, and it ended up taking me the better part of a year to do so because both of the locations the car could have been were 9 hours away from me, so I couldn't just drive all the way out there, make almost a 20-hour round trip just to find out my car is inside or the engine is a different space or something like that. So that's the reason it took so long. Figured I'd just address that, and let's get back to the car. First order of business is going to be getting all this paint off, or at least hopefully. So I'll start in this corner. If this goes well, then I'll start moving on to the easier stuff. It's all up on the taillights and glass too, so I'll have to get this hit with pretty much everything. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that paint off. I really wish I knew how there got to be this much paint on this car. This is quite the interesting setup for a compound bottle. Somebody is either making a joke or just completely clueless. Luckily, a super aggressive compound was able to get all this stuff off, and I don't care what anybody says, there's absolutely no excuse for getting this much paint all over my car. Okay, that's starting to look a little bit more like a car. Crazy transformation already. These are new. I'm not going to stress too much about it. It'll be easy to kind of clean up. But it's not looking too bad. I have definitely been looking forward to cleaning these windows. It doesn't really show up on camera, but I can't see through them. Like, I don't know if it's like the oily parts that were sitting in here and the sun kind of baked it off or something, but it is like genuinely, like, it's not even just a film, it's like a layer. I'm assuming it's gonna take a couple rags to get it off. Oh yeah, that is like a complete oil slick. Wow. All right, I'll check back in once these are all clean. Look at this one. That's the worst of them all. And it is just oil. I got through about half of the car and then my pad shredded. Both of them did. I think just a lot of work. So I gotta wait to finish that till I can get out and get some more tomorrow. But I thought I'd just kind of take a look at everything. Here is my old crank and my old block and then my old girdle, which they gave me with missing bolts, so that's fun. Radiator, and then just all of this stuff. Quite a lot to look at. I have a transmission back there, another transmission right there, not sure which one I'm going to use. And then if we come up here, there is a mess of bolts. Since I haven't taken one of these apart in forever, it's going to be so hard to figure out where all of this goes. This is all the front accessories. And over here, intake, oil pan, heads, turbos, water pumps, all that kind of stuff. And then here's the important thing, the block. So let's take a look at this one. It looks like it's in relatively good shape. I got it from a guy that's pretty respected with these cars, so I think I am a little bit safer than my last purchase. If you look down in here, cylinders have a nice hone, pistons look really fresh. And then let me see if I can flip it over without causing drama. Yeah, it'll go. All right. And then down here, this is what, I mean, obviously the bottom end, but these cars come with 2 and 4 bolt. The 4 bolts are the later cars, the 93 and later, which is what everybody wants as far as the engines, but these have the better looks. So I'm just sticking with the original engine. These are where the bolts are that determine if it's a 2 or 4 bolt. The 4 bolts have a set here and then a set here, which just gives it a little bit more structure down here. But this one is all oiled up and looks like it was built pretty nice, and it turns over just fine. Crank is completely brand new. I don't think it's ever been used, so I'm real excited to get this thing into the car. But I have a whole mess of parts, plus that other pile over there. Really hope I can remember everything. I don't really have any manuals or anything like that. Just gonna hit a forum up if I ever have any questions, but other than that, it's just me and my 3.5-year-old memory of how to do this. So since I can't do any more buffing, I'm going to go ahead and start trying to assemble this engine. I'm going to clean it out. I got to take the rockers off the heads, take the turbos off. Not the rockers, the cams. The cams have to come off the heads. Turbos have to come off because I want to clean all these oil passages in here, because this was a spun bearing engine, or these were on a spun bearing engine. And in here, this is my oil pan. And if I go like this, you'll see a little bit of shimmer. And there is my bearing material, and then here are the mains that the block still had in them. I'm assuming he took the rest when he took the pistons. No clue where my original pistons are. I didn't get those back. But if we look really closely, you can see some copper showing through, and these just, they weren't to the point where they're going to damage the block or anything like that, but they were scored enough. I'm sure the crank was pretty bad, which I don't have my factory crank either, so not really sure what the condition of that is, but I have a lot of metal to clean out all these parts. Take a look at how tiny these turbos are, but you got 2 of them, so that's enough. So start pulling those off, get the heads prepped. Heads go on first, then I'll probably do the oil pump and then kind of work at it from there. Here's a good look at the head. Looks like I still have my markings on here from my cam cap. See, it says 2, 3. I'll have to redo it. I might score it, but I'm gonna have to pull these off, clean those passages out, make sure the lifters are all right, and then I'm just gonna reassemble it right away. And then the next thing is gonna be throwing them on here. This one, by the looks of it, I believe is the front. Yeah, this is the front head. So I'll just have to mark all these first. I completely missed that there were already markings on here. You can see it says I5, I4, that's the intake side of the head. E5, E4, and so on for the exhaust. And then the cams, those have some markings on them. I cannot remember what they are. Yeah, there it is, F. And then this one should be G. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark those with Sharpie and then pop these guys off. I like to use hand tools every time I work on an engine. You don't wanna zip or zap anything off too quick or over tighten anything. So it takes a little bit longer, but it's a pretty important part of the car. So definitely got to take your time with it. And I forgot I have to take these off too if I want to do this front seal. Completely forgot about that, damn it. I hate doing that, they're always so tight. It's all starting to come back to me a little bit. These ones have like keepers on them, yeah. All right, so let's get this cam up and out of here. And then all the rockers come off. And then I can slide the lifters out. These are a pretty big issue with the earlier cars. They tick a lot. I replaced these with very expensive later lifters when I first built this engine. They're already showing some varnish on it, and this car has like a couple miles. I wonder if it's just from sitting in this oil for so long. All right, and after these lifters come out, apart from the valve springs, which I'm not gonna mess with, this is a bare head. I'm gonna strip the other one, and then I'll get these cleaned out, run some pressurized air through them and some brake clean, and then get all these gasket material off here, and it's gonna be ready to reassemble. Good Lord. All right, I have the heads cleaned really well. You can see there's no varnish or oil or anything in there. And then I have the cams and the caps all ready to go. New seals. So I'm gonna kind of just get to this, use some assembly lube, throw this in here, just throw everything back on there, and then we'll get to putting this engine together. This is step one of many. A sizable ant's nest in here somewhere. I'd be surprised if that was the only type of animal making home in this thing over the past couple years. Okay, I have both my heads built, so it's time to start throwing stuff together. Make sure. All right, moment of truth. First bit of the engine going back together. Let's see if I can slide this on without scratching anything. Okay. Those locator dowels should hold out while I get the head bolts ready. Got brand new ones, no used ones like my old mechanic guy. Just get one started so this thing doesn't fall off, I guess. Forgive me for having the fan on, but it's really hot in here. It's like 90 something, and I'm in this garage with no ventilation, but I got both of the heads on. Everything looks good. It took me a little extra time, and I have not torqued them down yet just because I can't tell where TDC is. I just guessed with this cylinder one right here. So I wanted to line up the cams and make sure they didn't hit the pistons while it's in time. This side sits perfectly fine, and this one, they just need to come in a little bit to where they touch right about here. The valve cover has the markings on it. I'll probably do the oil pump next. I gotta check the clearances with the feeler, and then I'll start getting this in time, I guess. Stuff moves pretty quick once you start getting in a groove. I'm gonna wait till the very end to hang the turbos though, just because they're pretty easy to access. I had 2 torque wrenches here. Neither of them worked. The only thing around is an AutoZone, so I had to go buy one. Luckily, it's not as expensive as I thought it was going to be, but next step will be 30, 60, 90 on the heads as far as torque, and then back off and then go another 90. And then I think the oil pump and oil pan is next after that. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love that noise. Something about it. All right, there's 30. Here comes 60. Got all these surfaces scraped down. Needs a little bit more cleaning, but I wanted to replace this seal. I'm gonna do the rear main as well, so I'm just gonna pop this in here real quick. On the crank, you can see there's like a kind of cutout piece right there. There's in here 2 flat spots. There you go, you can see that one and that one, and they just kind of slide on and mate. The problem with what I'm doing right now is now I'm entering into the territory where I don't know where any of the bolts go. So line this up with the crank. There we go, and then twist it back around. Make sure the gasket's still there. All right, now I have to guess with all my bolts. Those are banjos. I'm guessing 3 short ones, here, here, here. And I'm pretty sure some of the other brackets and components use a couple of these bolt holes. I just can't remember which one, so I'm gonna just kind of sandwich these on opposites like this, so it'll be snug in the meantime. Yeah, because there's 1, 2, 3 bolts missing. It's always fun. But after this, I get the side plate over here where all the oil gets sent out of to the turbos, and then I'll probably do the water pump next. I'm just trying to do everything I can to avoid putting this oil pan on because I have to scrape and clean the old pan, and that's gonna take about as long as it took to put the heads on. I do not remember a damn thing about the order that these have to go in, so I'm fully expecting at some time in the near future I'm gonna have to pull something that I'm doing right now off. Wait, no, that goes the other way. Because this has to run through here. There is a water tube that goes through that area. So I just now thought of this. If I do have to take something back off and it has a gasket on it, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that. Because I only have 1 gasket set, so I guess I should probably just be a little more careful. Easier said than done though. And where does this dude go? Assuming right there. Throw it aside for the time. I think this one's long. No, it's got to be this one. It's longer for a bracket that goes right there, if I can remember correctly. Okay, fresh rear main on. I got the fresh front seal up here too earlier. Got the pickup tube and then the oil filter housing and all that kind of stuff. So I think the next thing to go on is the oil pan. I can't really think of anything else that would have to go down here. I mean, it's a pretty simple system. Oil picks up, pressurized through there, and then goes out throughout the engine. So I have the pan all cleaned up. Took me forever because there's a bunch of bearing debris and stuff in there. Can't remember what type of gasket to use with this. Some people just use silicone. There's a cork gasket as well. So I'm gonna do some research and you'll find out what I come to in just a second. And you can see what the forums have decided for me. First mistake was made, I think. I'm pretty sure I put this on backwards, this lower plenum right here, because this bolt is supposed to line up with this, and over here you'll notice that this one is offset that direction. So I'm gonna flop that around, and hopefully that's the only mistake I've made so far. I'm glad I caught that one, but hopefully I didn't make others that I haven't caught yet. I'll know eventually though. Would you look at that? These hydraulic tensioners are pretty weird. you kind of set it and then pull the pin, and then that's it. And when you need to redo the timing, you have to compress this, and you have to do it like extremely slow. I'm talking like a course of hours to get it back in, just to not damage it. So given my other one had already been compressed and they're like 40 or 50 bucks, I thought I'd just buy a new one. And then it went to go put this on here, and when I slid it on, I realized it just spins 360. So I realized I don't have a Woodruff key, so I need to go find one of those. That will be interesting to find in this small town. Ace maybe, who knows. I realized I didn't have a Woodruff key, so I'm in my Land Rover off to go find one. I only drive this thing every few weeks, and it's usually to go off-roading. It's probably having fun exercising its legs a little bit. Absolutely love this car. Thank you, Harbor Freight. Perfect. Got my new timing kit right here. So I've got that on, ready to set the timing, but if you look down here, I noticed that there is a chunk taken out of this outer band. And I am assuming that doesn't really, like if it was a crank sensor car, it would matter, but this doesn't have a crank sensor. So it probably just in sitting in this or transportation or something had an issue, but I'm gonna try it. There's my mark for TDC. I'm just gonna spin that and then get the cams lined up. So setting timing on these is interesting because these all try to spin like anything else. There's actually a tool for this, but I just use vice grips and some binder clips. And then you have to set TDC a little bit left of center because when you go to tighten it up, it will turn it a little bit. And what this is this tensioner moves, like it has a bearing, and then it has like a pendulum. And then you can also clock this intersection with this specialty tool that arrived today. Good timing. See how you can twist that? So there's 3 adjustments there. I had this wedged in under here so that wouldn't budge. So you basically have to set this at the proper clock, like it's gonna be up here. See how the belt's loose? And then I twist this up, tightens up. And then this tensioner pushes out this rod, which then on this thing allows it to go back and forth. Pretty interesting. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but I actually did it without referencing back to pictures or videos or anything. It's pretty self-explanatory. All these holes, like on these brackets over here and whatnot, there's only one way they fit, so just kind of pull out the bracket, see where it fits, and then just try to throw it on. But I do need to look up the tension for this, and then I will go ahead and set it. My neighbor decided to start cutting his grass at the perfect timing, but the answer is 7 foot-pounds, so right there till it clicks, and then I have to just get an extension so I can reach in there and give that a tighten, and then I can release this pin right here. And I remember when I first started working on these cars, that would have taken me like 3 hours, but that was like literally less than 10 minutes to get that done. Here are the marks right there. You can see this guy, that guy, and then these two. They're not dead on because TDC is not dead on just yet. And the valve covers aren't pushed down, they're just kind of set on there. But now I should be able to rotate this without coming in contact with the pistons. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. First get it to TDC. There's no plugs in there, so it should move pretty freely. Look at that. We're gonna go for 2 rotations. There's 2. All right. Most of my brackets are on, at least on the front side where I can't really access them if I hang the turbo. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this front turbo on, and then we'll head to the back side. And there we have it, a freshly rebuilt 2-bolt ready to go back in my VR4. All I need to do is add the accessories and a couple extra brackets along with this water neck back here, and hopefully in the next video we'll get it in, get the transmission mounted, and get this car running. So if you're interested and want to see more of this, make sure to follow along, hit the subscribe button, leave a like if you liked the video, and I will see you in the next one with a running VR4.